Bellator 285. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. Main event, Benson Henderson fights Peter Queally. We got a pretty good card. We're going to go through each of the matchups. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe. Turn those post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. And let's jump into the first fight of the night. Karl Albrektsson and Karl Moore. I like Albrektsson to win this fight. He's the pick here. I think he's going to be better with the wrestling. I see him also being able to outstrike Moore. Moore's a tough brawler. He has decent power in the hands and can wrestle a little bit himself. But I really feel like Albrektsson is pretty good. He's 28 years of age. He's already had like a ton of high-level competition experience. I really think he should be able to run through a guy like Karl Moore. I guess for me, the scale we're weighing here is how good is Karl Albrektsson. A win, I really feel like, is determined by how dominant it is. If you're talking about like moving him towards rankings, I think he should run through Karl Moore. I'm going to go ground and pound, KO, TKO in the second round. And I think a finish for his stock would be like super necessary, or at least extremely positive to get him in the mix, because he's a pretty good fighter and he's fought a lot of really good guys. Albrektsson is minus 365, very, very wide as a favorite. It's not close. Karl Moore plus 315. You know, Moore's style at times kind of reminds me more of like a 2000s MMA style. He'll sit in the pocket and brawl. I think that type of style, Albrektsson can kind of play into it for a moment and then mix in takedowns well. I think he'll be putting Karl Moore on his back at some point. We're going to Albrektsson, KO, TKO, and specifically I'm thinking ground and pound. But the striking, Albrektsson can compete too. Next fight, Brian Moore versus Arivaldo Silva. Arivaldo Silva's 40 years old, and when I look through his record, I'm like, wow, this is an example of a guy who's been fighting forever that just never got the shot at the next level. Now he gets it at 40. He fights Brian Moore, who I'm picking to win the fight. I really think Silva is a tough brawler, but he's going to be smaller than Brian Moore. I don't think he's as quick on the feet. I think Brian Moore is going to have an advantage in power too. I see Brian Moore putting good, patient pressure on Silva, breaking him down on the feet and finding openings in the guard. I mean, Silva's a bit upright too, and when he closes distance, I think there'll be moments where Brian Moore can definitely hit him. I think Moore might even just bully Silva out there, keep him on that back foot. I definitely see Moore getting a finish. I'm going knockout. I'm thinking it's in the first or second round. For Silva, you got to feel happy for a guy to get a big chance like that, because in the truest sense, he is a journeyman from Brazil that now gets himself a pretty solid shot. If he can win, it'd be huge for him, but I really don't see him beating Brian Moore, who, I mean, somewhat of journeyman considered himself, but he's fought really good competition, and he's pretty damn solid. I mean, the guy gives tough fights to good fighters. Brian Moore, the line for this one, we have it here. We might have to pull up the next site. Yeah, we do have it. Just released here. Minus 400. Silva at plus 245. I don't think Silva has much of a shot, but he gets a huge chance. I'm saying he's getting knocked out in the first round. Brian Moore for the win. Next fight of the night, Brett Johns and Jordan Winski. I'm picking Brett Johns. I think that he's going to be able to control Winski with the grappling a lot here. Brett Johns is pretty decently well-rounded, but he shines more so in the grappling department than anything. Winski, he's got decent wrestling in his own right, and he's solid on the feet, but I think Johns is going to be too dominant with his offensive wrestling. That'll stifle Winski's wrestling game. Winski does have that rear hand, like locked and loaded Dan Henderson style, and he definitely has like a bit of pop if he's able to come through and land clean, but it's not like Brett Johns is a guy that goes out there and gets smoked by anyone very often. He's been in the UFC. He's fought really good competition. I think Brett Johns is pretty damn good at bantamweight, and I think he should dominate Jordan Winski for a unanimous decision win or even a TKO on the ground. I know the style of Brett Johns is not necessarily the most fan-friendly, but he can be pretty dominant. And I think a dominant performance is what goes down here. We're going Brett Johns by a dominant decision. Johns on the lines, minus 500. Winski plus 400. You guys know with these Bellator prelims, the lines can be crazy. Prime example right here. Super wide line. I think that we'll see Brett Johns unanimous decision. Next fight, I'm excited for this one. Darragh Queally fights Kai Stevens. I like Darragh Queally as a prospect. He's supposed to be extremely good coming up. Ireland guy fighting in Ireland against a British opponent who is not that bad himself. 3-1 record. He has some fights and he's not a bad fighter either. I mean, his striking is pretty solid from what I've seen. He's got good boxing. He's good on the floor, but I do see kind of moments where he still looks a bit raw and kind of like young in the game. He's 24 years of age. Darragh Queally on the opposite side, yes, the same age as him, seems to be more versed technically, seems to be experienced beyond his years as far as how he fights. I mean, he did well as an amateur, unbeaten there. I think he's got good combinations with his punches, very good low kicks, but once fights on the floor, I think he'll find his way on top of Stevens here, and I think Queally will work towards a submission. I'm going to go Darragh Queally via submission, probably first round, but it could go a bit longer, second, and even if it went all three, it'd be good experience points for Queally. Stevens is a game opponent here, but Darragh Queally, I think, is going to get the submission and dominate this fight. Darragh Queally, the line for him, minus 380, very wide favorite, but he definitely should win here. Plus 315 for Kai Stevens. I think Queally impresses in his sophomore pro appearance. Next fight on the card, familiar face of Georgi Karakhanyan back to fight Kane Mousah. I actually love this matchup. I think there is serious potential for explosiveness here and knockouts. I'm going to go Georgi Karakhanyan to win by KO over Kane Mousah, but Mousah's not an easy guy to deal with striking. He's pretty athletic and slick on his feet. Karakhanyan known for very good explosiveness, power, really good hooks. I think Karakhanyan can find that Mousah chin if he can close that gap and get in close range. Granted, I know the reach is not super substantially different, but I do think Mousah from the outside has pretty decent kicking skills, and he is fast. He moves well, light on his feet. Karakhanyan, I do think, is more dangerous with his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If they go to the floor, I favor Karakhanyan here, but I do think Mousah's takedown defense would be there, and I think Karakhanyan, for the most part, wants to strike. I'm going to say Karakhanyan by second round knockout. I think he can find that chin of Kane Mousah. Action-packed fight here. If Mousah found the chin and put him out, it wouldn't be impossible. But I do think Karakhanyan should win this one. We're going to look at the line for this matchup. Karakhanyan minus 190, so the line's not wide. And there's a reason why. It's a fight. Plus 165 for Mousah. Listen, in Bellator, minus 190, that's like a pick'ems line. That's close. In the UFC, you see minus 190, and you're thinking, oh, this is a dominant favorite. This is a bit of a fight here. This is a real one. I'm going to pick Karakhanyan, but Kane Mousah is dangerous. Somebody's getting finished here. Next fight on the card. Alex Bodnar versus Kenny Mokhonoana. Hard last name to pronounce there, and I was listening to it before the recording too, but Kenny Black Diamond versus Alex Bodnar. I'm going to pick Kenny. I do think he's going to control with wrestling here, but I'm not jumping off the, or jumping up and down. Like, there's nothing jumping off the page that gets me, like, super excited. I don't necessarily feel like either of these guys are, like, too top line right now. I know they don't have a lot of experience, but if you look at Darragh Queally, he's coming in with real hype into these big fights. I don't feel the same with Kenny here. He does look pretty good with his wrestling. He can control on the ground. Decent athlete on the feet. Good submission game. Bodnar is kind of a long, tallish type fighter who switches up his stances. Decent takedowns and control. Both guys young in their careers, and I think that could be evident on fight night too. I think that we're going to see Kenny Mokhonoana get a win by a decision, and I expect it to be clinch control against the cage and takedowns. That's kind of how I'm seeing him winning this fight. As far as the lines, Mokhonoana minus 290, Bodnar plus 245. I think Kenny gets the win, but it's not one that I'm feeling like playing here. I think I'd sit back, watch this one. I know it's not like crazy wide like some of the others, but it's because Bodnar could end up pulling it off. But I do think he's put on his back here. And Kenny Mokhonoana gets himself the win. I'm going to say decision, though. Grinding decision. Next fight on the card. Asaël Adjoudj versus Jordan Barton. I like Jordan Barton to win. Asaël, what I saw from him in the Bellator debut, I like the style of kickboxing. I enjoy watching guys that are really slick from the outside and have that confidence. Kind of reminded me of like a Prince Nassim Hamed, how he's moving and he's trying to get in his opponent's heads a bit, throwing a lot of feints out there. But Barton, I think, is going to move forward with a pressure striking style. I think he'll have success on the feet versus Asaël, actually. I think he can close that gap and touch that chin a bit. I don't think Asaël will keep him off of him for the entirety of the fight and be able to outstrike him from range throughout the whole thing. I think Barton finds a way inside, and I think he also finds ways towards takedowns. I think Barton will land some here and get himself a win. I am thinking that it's going to go the full 3. I'm going to pick Jordan Barton to win by a decision. On the feet, he's outgunned with the kicks for sure, but Barton definitely does have a pretty strong jab, decent boxing game. Asaël, best way for him to win is going to be stay away from his opponent, maybe catch him with a high kick to put him out. But I don't think that's super likely. More so, it's Barton getting himself the win, and I'm going to say by a decision. Interesting matchup here. Not like a one that I want to bet down on, but I think Barton gets the win, but he could lose it too. Minus 150, Barton. Asaël is plus 140. I'll pick Barton by decision. Next fight on the card, it is the featured prelim of the night. Dante Schiro versus Luca Poclit. I'm going to pick Dante Schiro to win, but Poslit's not an easy guy to deal with. He's got good wrestling. Schiro can match the wrestling in a sense, maybe not as effective offensively, but I think defensively can be effective here. And then if you match them up in the striking, I like the range of Schiro. I like the kickboxing ability, the way he peppers his punches together. And I also think if you're looking at the grappling, I think Poclit, yes, he's good shooting for necks. I don't think Schiro would fall into that trap. And if Shiro's on top of him, I don't know what Poslit's going to offer from the back. If Schiro can get on top, he might be able to get some ferocious ground and pound off and do some real damage on Poclit. For these reasons, I'm liking Schiro. I'm going to say win via unanimous decision. And I think it's a good fight. Now, Schiro is a bit of the favorite. I mean, his loss to Logan Storley by split decision has held up incredibly now. He looks great for going the distance in that fight, seeing that Storley's now the interim champion. Looking at the lines, Poclit is plus 165. Schiro is minus 180. It's decently close money because Poslit's a good contender. I mean, he's 7-1 coming into Bellator. This is a huge step because Shiro's pretty damn game. I still think Schiro gets himself a victory here and the hand is raised. But it's a fight. Schiro for the win. Let's jump towards the main card. If you guys haven't yet, make sure to smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. Rafael Hudson versus Ciaran Clarke. The pick is obviously Ciaran Clarke. Let's talk about Hudson for a bit. He's got a Muay Thai background. He has a fight recently that I watched on his Instagram, the highlights of it, and it's not on his Tapology record, which is weird. He's claiming he's 6-3 as a pro, so he's claiming he's coming off a win as opposed to what Tapology and SureDog both have listed as he's coming off of a loss, but he supposedly has a win a month ago. He did it with the knockout. So he's dangerous striking for sure. There's going to be some good Muay Thai skills. Ciaran Clarke is not going to be looking to stand and trade with Hudson. He's going to be looking to get him on the ground, control from top position, work towards extremely dominant position, and set up the submission. Most likely, he's successful. I'm going to say very likely he is. On the opposite side, Hudson still's going to have power. And I mean, a tough Brazilian fighter, he could land something big. It's not like he's a complete bum. We look, recent fight here, Omar Solmonov over at Brave. I mean, Brave is still good MMA. This fight, yes. Sylvester Miller, decision, majority decision, going the distance with Miller, who was on his way to beating Jack Cartwright, aside from throwing headbutts. Maybe Hudson would be a dog play that people are like totally sleeping on and somehow he gets a knockout. Nova Uniao guy, he can be pretty dangerous. We have to pick Ciaran Clarke. That is the prediction. Clarke by submission. But it's a wide line, and maybe Hudson has some type of value. Looking at Hudson money line, if we can find it here. Wow, it's swelled up. Plus 500 Hudson money line. I'm not saying he has much of a chance, but maybe he could pull off a KO. If you're looking for like a wide Hail Mary dog play, that KO could be something. Clark's minus 650 as the favorite. You're not playing him. And I mean, the lack of, I guess, clarity with his record, too, with Hudson. He's got experience. Ciaran Clarke, win by submission, official prediction. But let's see if Hudson can pull something crazy off. I'd like to see it. Next fight on the card, Mads Burnell and Pedro Carvalho. The pick is Mads Burnell, 100%. I think he's got the better wrestling than Carvalho. I think he's got the better boxing. Maybe Carvalho has him beaten, like, I don't know, maybe striking from distance, but it's a very maybe. Carvalho has that, like, McGregor flow almost, but doesn't have the McGregor pop. Not necessarily Glass Joe, but Pedro Carvalho is known to be chinned. He's been put to sleep, a couple times recently. Granted, game competition that he's losing to, but that chin can be tested. I think Mads Burnell can find his way inside with the boxing. If he hurts Carvalho, Carvalho is not going to be able to succeed in wrestling. I think Mads Burnell could end up winning by a submission here. I think he can win by a knockout here. I kind of see him breaking down Pedro Carvalho. Burnell is like a top 3, top 4 guy in Bellator featherweight. Carvalho, I know, ranked up at the top. I don't know, maybe he's more like, 10, 15, true level. I think he's going to get beaten up here by Mads Burnell. I think the pressure of Burnell will break him down. I think that Pedro Carvalho is going to probably get caught with a hook over the top. The chin, he goes down, he gets chinned, he goes down. The chin is like a big if thing with Carvalho. I think he's going to get dropped and maybe knocked out here. But don't be surprised if Mads Burnell knocks him down, follows up, getting into the grappling and looking for subs. Because Mads Burnell's got excellent Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I think that Mads Burnell to win via club in sub could be a pretty likely outcome here. So I'm going to pick Mads Burnell to win via submission over Pedro Carvalho. But don't be surprised if he knocks him down too. Looking at the lines, Mads Burnell is a Dagestani level favorite, minus 410. But as we've said, it's Bellator. The lines are just naturally wider. Carvalho plus 350. I mean, UFC action, this is minus 200. Carvalho, upwards of that plus 175 range, depending where you're at. But it's Bellator, so it's extremely wide lines. I think Burnell gets himself the finish. So inside of the distance for Burnell, let's see. We have Burnell wins by sub. I want to just bring this prop up. Burnell by sub, plus 350. I think it's a very good line. We'll go really deep with the props for pretty much each one of these matchups on this week's Best MMA Bets, so make sure to tune into that one this week. Right now, we'll give you a little preview, at least for this one. But Mads Burnell, he's a wide money line, but there is some value if you did that sub prop. I like that here. Submission, Mads Burnell over Carvalho. Next fight on the card, Leah McCourt and Diana Silva. I am picking Diana Silva, man. I can't pick Leah McCourt. The stand-up is not there. Diana Silva can strike a bit. She got some pop in the hands. She wings some punches, but if they land, they'll do damage. Leah McCourt flurries inside to try to clinch and look for takedowns. Diana Silva has a decent grappling game. I think she's a physically strong girl. I think she's going to be difficult to bully inside of the clinch. I think she can keep McCourt off of her a bit, and even if she is put down, fight her way back to the feet. The key is not if Leah McCourt lands a takedown, is Diana Silva in trouble. It's if Leah McCourt is able to retain top position, then I think Diana Silva's in trouble, not of getting finished necessarily, but of getting grinded out and continually grinded out. She needs to make Leah McCourt pay as she tries to come inside with the grappling style of like clinch work against the cage and trip. She's got to make her pay before she even gets near her. She's got to just throw combos, big shots. Like, I want to see Diana Silva really letting out a good amount of volume as McCourt's obviously pressing inside to grapple. When she's looking for the clinch, she's looking for a trip. Diana Silva needs to counter that by making McCourt pay. If she can do that, I think she can get the win. I'm going to pick Silva. I'm going to lean it by a decision, and I think she's got to bust Leah McCourt up with some significant punches to keep her off of her. If not, could be trouble, because if McCourt gets inside and gets on top and Diana Silva can't get up, we kind of know the way this fight is probably going live. As far as the odds, McCourt is slight plus money, plus 115. Silva, minus 110. I like Diana Silva. I'm going to pick her to win a decision. See if she lets those hands go. If she does, I see her getting it done. Next fight is the co-main event. Yoel Romero versus Melvin Manhoef. Romero, I think, knocks Manhoef out in a round. Melvin Manhoef is 46. He's older than Romero by a year, and he hasn't fought in nearly 2 years, and he was destroyed by Corey Anderson. Is that good or bad? Because he got stopped in that fight, if he was younger, we'd say it's probably a good thing, but because he's 46, He's been out for a long time now. Those 2 years, nearly 2 years, can make a serious difference in your ability. 46 and 44 is a big gap. That's 2 more years to completely fade as far as a fighter goes. And I do think Yoel Romero being more active keeps him more crisp and on point. He's still got it. Yoel Romero's got knockout power, extremely good wrestling. I know Phil Davis exploited it, but Phil Davis is an absolute monster and doesn't get enough credit as being just a top light heavyweight for years and years and years. Yoel Romero finds the chin of Manhoef. I think he wants to strike with Melvin, which kind of gets me a little nervous because if Manhoef is able to land a big shot, this dude slept Mark Hunt. He can sleep anyone. Can you imagine Melvin Manhoef sleeps Yoel Romero in the first round, and then Adesanya's looking at it. He's barely squeaking by a split decision, and Manhoef, actually I think it was a unanimous decision. But anyways, Manhoef gets the KO. Not the pick. I'm picking Yoel Romero to get the knockout here. But it could be a scary bet if you're throwing down heavy on Romero because Manhoef still is going to have power. The last thing to go is the power. But the chin should be faded by now. I think Romero knocks him out. And if he wants to wrestle, we know Romero can take down Manhoef and beat him up from the top position. It's just, will he do that or will he want to bang? He likes to box. I'm going to go Romero KO, minus 610. Manhoef plus 500 as a dog. If you were going nuts and you were throwing a Manhoef knockout prop out there, maybe not a terrible idea if you're just looking at Hail Mary. It's plus 650. That's his only way to win. Maybe. But Yoel Romero most likely winning this fight by devastating first round knockout. And if he mixes in the wrestling, I think he'll be a guarantee. He can get a TKO on the floor even. But I know Yoel Romero's going to want to strike. He likes striking. And he's going to sit in there with a very game kickboxer, Melvin Manhoef. And I think he succeeds. Yoel Romero, KO. Let's get to the main event. If you guys haven't yet, make sure to smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe. It is Benson Henderson and Peter Queally. I like Peter Queally to win. I think his range advantage as far as the striking goes is a big factor. He's a physically strong dude, and I don't think Benson Henderson is going to out-muscle him and just easily take him down and out-wrestle him. Queally's the bigger guy. Not significantly, but a bit bigger. He's got the range edge. Striking, I think he's a problem. I think he'll be touching Benson Henderson up with some punches here. I think Peter Queally's stand-up game is pretty dangerous. His low kicks are really good. Straight shots are really good. Benson Henderson is not a guy that damages his opponents. He does some damage, but what I'm talking about is like significant damage. When's Benson Henderson really getting stoppages? Known for the decision, he'll outpoint his opponent and go the full. Peter Queally is a game brawler who's going to come forward throughout the entire fight. The reason Patricky put him down bad in the last one, he's coming forward to brawl. Yeah, his offense is really good, but maybe gets a bit reckless, and then Patricky makes him pay with a big knockout punch. Benson Henderson doesn't have that option. There's not going to be an ability for Benson Henderson, aside from landing takedowns, to really keep Queally off of him. If Henderson can wrestle here and he's successful with wrestling, that's how he gets a win. Maybe works towards a unanimous decision or a submission, but I think Queally's going to be able to stay on his feet, and he's going to touch up Henderson on the feet. I'm going Peter Queally KO. I'm going third round knockout for Queally, and he stops Benson Henderson, being one of the few to pull that one out. Looking at the lines, Queally, the former title challenger, is plus 180. Benson Henderson, former UFC lightweight champion, minus 195. Good matchup here between these two. I think we're in store for a pretty action-packed main event. The more I dug through the card, the more I actually really grew to enjoy this Bellator event. I hadn't done a Bellator full card breakdown in a while. I've just been doing the key fights, but I brought the full card breakdown back for the people. Guys, let me know in the comments what you guys think of the picks of the full card breakdown. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe. Turn those post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. Bellator 285. I think it's going to be a pretty good one. Got content dropping throughout the week for it. This week's best MMA bets, which I'll be doing tomorrow. Thursday, I will be doing Moneyline with my guy Mike Finch. Off-week show, but we're still bringing it. And then Friday, I'll be doing a Bellator main card fight companion. So make sure you guys tune into that. Much love, my people. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace, everyone.